From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger. Tonight, more details about the weekend shooting that left one Billings man dead and landed another in jail facing murder charges. Yellowstone County Coroner Cliff Mahoney releasing the victim's identity today. 25-year-old Christian Henning died from multiple gunshot wounds. The shooting unfolded just before 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon in the parking lot of the Dairy Queen at 3220 Honesta Drive. Tonight, 30-year-old Raheem Calloway, who turned himself into authorities about 20 minutes after the shooting, faces deliberate homicide charges. The victim and suspect apparently knew each other and had a dispute over Facebook, apparently over a $100 music recording altercation. Tonight at 10, Janelle Slade will have more on that part of the case. And a follow-up to some breaking news that we first told you about Friday night when a pickup truck crashed into the Laurel Middle School. Laurel police say a medical condition was the reason behind that accident, which sent the driver to the hospital. Witnesses say the vehicle went into reverse and the driver gunned it, going over 2 curbs and into the building. No word back from the school district on the amount of damage to the school. Well, the number of coronavirus cases in Montana has reached the 5,000 mark as of this morning. Today, 65 new cases were announced with 2 additional hospitalizations. Yellowstone County reported 10 new cases in the state's numbers, with Bighorn County seeing 9. 80 people are currently hospitalized across the state. 75 Montanans have died since the pandemic began, and almost 3,300 have now recovered. Well, lately, concerns have been raised online about thousands of potentially missing COVID-19 tests. Today, state public health leaders said they're not aware of any tests that have been lost. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian has more on the issue.
MTN News had been forwarded an online post that said about 7,000 COVID-19 tests might have been lost. We looked into those reports. The Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services, which has been overseeing COVID testing in the state, says it has not heard of any missing test results in the Helena area or elsewhere in Montana. In a statement Monday, a department spokesperson said, "We believe there might be confusion as to the recent backlog of test results at Quest that has since been resolved. This number of tests was also 7,000. These tests have been processed and the results sent back to the ordering provider." Montana is one of several states that saw delays in getting COVID test results, as the number of tests being processed at out-of-state labs spiked in recent weeks. The state is now working with another lab that has processed about 10,000 Montana tests. DPHHS says the turnaround time there has been about 2 to 3 days. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
Well, Montana is also still processing tests at the state lab in Helena, and leaders are working on testing partnerships with Montana hospitals and Montana State University to further expand in-state capacity. Montana's congressional delegation doesn't always agree on controversial issues, especially when it involves the Trump administration. But when it comes to concern about action taken by Trump's new Postmaster General and its effect on the Postal Service, I should say, they're all speaking out. MTN Chief Political Reporter Mike Dennison has more tonight.
In memos made public last month, Postmaster General Louis DeJoy said he is restricting overtime by postal workers and taking other cost-cutting steps that could delay mail delivery. He has said the financially strapped Postal Service needs to operate more like a business. But Democratic U.S. Senator John Tester says Congress has appropriated funds to help the Postal Service weather the coronavirus pandemic, but that money has not been released.
We've got a head of the Postal Service that wants to destroy the Postal Service. He's doing everything he can do to destroy it. We've got to hold that person accountable, and we've got to make sure the Postal Service is there.
The Republican members of Montana's delegation aren't happy either. Both U.S. Senator Steve Daines and Representative Greg Gianforte sent letters to DeJoy last week demanding that he reverse directives that are delaying mail delivery times. Daines and Tester also are co-sponsors of a bill introduced a month ago that would create a $25 billion emergency fund to keep the Postal Service afloat and require DeJoy to submit a plan for the service's long-term solvency.
I am concerned about that, particularly for a state like Montana, where rural communities are heavily dependent on the Postal Service, particularly for health care. So many senior citizens and other Montanans receive their medications through the United States Postal Service.
Senator Tester said a well-functioning Postal Service is even more vital now as millions more Americans will likely be voting by mail this coming election.
Not only is the mail important for just doing regular old business and keeping folks healthy, but vote by mail is kind of nice in a state like Montana, and we had a record turnout during the primary because of it. I believe that this democracy is set up so everybody that's a citizen here should have an opportunity to vote.
So what happens now? As we've reported before on this issue, there's always plenty of tough talk in Congress about fixing and preserving the Postal Service. But here we are, still waiting for action. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Well, funding for the Postal Service had also been a part of the latest pandemic relief bill, but negotiations on that bill remain stalled in Congress. Well, this Thursday, Big Brothers Big Sisters of Yellowstone County is holding its annual golf outing to help raise money for their programs. For over 100 years, Big Brothers Big Sisters has been a mentoring network connecting adults and children across the country. Earlier today, our Krista Rose spoke with Big Brothers Big Sisters CEO Amy Riesinger to learn more about this fundraiser.
Amy, tell me about the golf outing because it sounds like a lot of fun.
It should be fun, and hopefully the weather will cooperate with us. So it's this Thursday, August 13th, 1 o'clock shotgun start at Pryor Creek. And this is an annual event that we do to raise funds to help make sure that we can continue mentoring at-risk youth in Yellowstone County.
Can anybody come out and play?
Yes. So we have 19 teams registered as of today. So we have room for maybe 3 or 4 more. They would just need to register within the next day or so that we can get their information in.
And if you'd like to sign up and play in the Golf for Kids' Sake tournament, or if you'd like more information on how to get involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Yellowstone County, you can log on to ktvq.com. They're always looking for good mentors, especially for men. Well, up next on tonight's 5:30 News, with the 2020 election less than 3 months away, there's a renewed look at the battle for the one and only U.S. House of Representatives from Montana. Jay Cohn will share some insight on that. And in sports, Casey Conlon dishes out some mixed martial arts that has been kicking up a lot of excitement.
And coming up in weather, while here in the Billings area, our weather's kind of tranquil. Something we call a derecho with 100-mile-per-hour winds raced across the Midwest. We will take you there in a few more minutes.